kind of a season wrap-up, unless you have any other questions about yesterday. It's as I told the guys earlier, it's each year, the turnover in throughout the league is close to 25% or so. So it's never going to be the same group of men. We had a good group. We had a good year. Went from 7 wins to 12 wins, and had a lot of great moments throughout the year. A lot to be proud of. Certainly, I thought our fans were awesome. Whether it was at home or on the road, the Raider Nation showed up, and then we had an abrupt ending that kind of leaves that taste in your mouth. Where as I told them, I'm not happy about it. We should expect more, and I'm going to demand more. And we'll evaluate everything. That's what you do this time of year. We'll have our after-action review. We'll speak with the staff goes through a really comprehensive review of what was and what we can do better, and we'll analyze our schemes and make sure we're doing the best we can with the players we have, and then evaluate our own roster, and then get on with building the team stronger and preparing for next year. And that's kind of where we are. You go from getting ready for the next opponent each week to shifting gears, and then now getting into off-season mode like the other 20 teams that were already here. And so that's how we're going to go about our business. Have a good, thorough evaluation, and then move on to next. We'll catch a little bit of a break here. After a few days of work, we'll get a little bit of a break to kind of decompress from the season, and then we'll charge forward. So, with that, questions.
Any team that doesn't win the Super Bowl starts the evaluation process of how to close that gap. What do we need to do to be that team? Is that a harder evaluation for you guys because of what happened with Derek at the end of the year? I mean, do you even know what that gap is for you?
No, I think you attack that the best you can. I mean, you evaluate who you are, what you are, and look at the things you can do better, things that areas where you feel like you can strengthen, and then you don't always get your wish list. You try and strengthen the best you can. You don't always get your wish list, but to me, it's a never-ending process about building yourself as strong as possible and preparing for the next opportunity.
Is there more of a psychological deal with Derek's injury than maybe you anticipated? Did you sense that?
I don't think so. We didn't really talk about it much, but 2 weeks ago, man, we had we had a bug hit us prior to that Denver game. I think a little bit of what looked like a flat effort was more due to 30 guys being having some kind of illness going into that game, and we had it was a rough weekend, players and coaches going down. So I think that was probably more involved in that type of feel that there just wasn't the normal zest and energy. No, our guys. I thought our guys did a great job all year of playing with great effort. We've learned how to fight. I mean, we've learned how to compete, stay in it. Even when things weren't going well yesterday, there was never a lack of energy and guys going for it and continuing to sacrifice themselves and their bodies and play really hard. So that part to me has gotten to a point where you will always push for it and never take it for granted, but it's gotten to a point where we're seeing that sustained.
I think you've been asked before if you felt like this year you were ahead of schedule, going from 7-9 to 12-4. But when you look at the season and where you came from last year, how do you evaluate it? Do you feel like you made a ton of progress?
Well, for sure we did. No, for sure we made. There's been a great deal accomplished. There's no question about that. But is it enough? No. I want more. We want more as an organization. Our goals are higher, so that's not going to change. But we're not going to pretend like it wasn't really good. I mean, you win 12 games. It's hard to do in this league. Won 6 in a row at one stretch, and never really had back-to-back losses prior to yesterday. A lot of really good things are going on and are going on, and so we want to build on those, recognize where we need to be better, and there's several areas we must be better in, and and just, kind of own up to it and roll up our sleeves and get busy.
Jack, you said, I'm going to demand more. What more can you demand out of you guys?
Oh, I mean, at the end of the day, areas where we're not as strong as we want to be and intend to be, to make sure that we shore those up. And we made great strides, but there's still work to be done. So it's throughout. It's not like there's any one area where I feel like I can just say, yeah, we've arrived. I don't feel that way. I feel like we have a really good team, and I feel like there are many areas where we can improve and must improve to be the kind of football team that I want us to be.
Where does pass rush rank on that area in terms of improvement?
Yeah, I would say in particular, interior pass rush is critical for us to get that going. We were not nearly effective enough. I think Stacy had the 2.5 sacks in there, and Mario, we got Mario back late, and he wasn't a huge factor. Hottie wasn't a huge factor. Danico played with that wrist all year, and he wasn't as so. I didn't feel like we got enough inside push. That's going to be an area for sure. We're going to have to be better and do better.
You brought back all your assistants last year, which doesn't really happen that often in this league. Where the turnover is
Yep.
where there's no turnover. Do you anticipate something similar this year, or do you know?
Well, we'll see how it goes. Opportunities come up for guys. We were able to get that done last year, and we'll just see how that breaks for us this year. So, got a good group of guys. They work hard, they care. So, yeah, we'll see where that goes.
Were you happy with the strategy for both coordinators through the end of the season?
Well, people always want to get into play calling. That's the first area that everybody that plays Madden thinks they have it figured out. So. I can't worry too much about those type of things.
The defense made some progress from the start of the season, but it seemed like it kind of maybe leveled out. What was just kind of your overall assessment of how the defense played?
I thought we played really well early in games, really well late in games, and got turnovers throughout games. And that's what enabled us. That was part of what helped us win 12 games. What we didn't do particularly well is, and we closed the halves well, first and second half. But there were far too many explosive plays allowed this year, and whether it be run or pass, and that's that's an area that must be addressed. So that might be the number one thing that we must do better going into 2017.
For a group of receivers that are pretty talented, you get an inordinate amount of drops this year, beginning to end.
I'm not sure what the numbers are yet. I haven't looked at the final tally, but I would say there are more than I'm comfortable with, more than we should have, and that's certainly another. You could add that to the list of things we're talking about here, of areas that are obvious areas that must improve.
Amari's production kind of dipped over the second half of the season. Why do you think that was?
Not sure about that. Last year I think that was clearly a little bit involved with his foot. Don't believe he was dealing with a similar type of injury. Whether it's as we evaluate ourselves and go back and look at it, whether it was what they were doing to us or what we, weren't doing to provide those opportunities for him. It's just, which was it? Was the guy he was going against good enough to get him slowed down? Was it scheme? Was it design on our part? And those are all things that have to be looked at in detail as we go throughout the offseason.
You talked about
There's
too
hope,
many explosive plays. Do you have an idea of why that was the case? Is it,
Explosive plays, whether you like it or not, they always come back to the secondary. Because the front line, even if you have a front line that is full of holes, the back end has a chance to cap the play before it goes explosive. So, runs that get out big time typically have to do with a missed tackle, poor leverage, a missed assignment, something along those lines. And in the back end, obviously, balls go over the top of your head, or missed tackles, or missed assignments lead to explosive passes as well. But Yeah, I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, it's, DB coaches, we'll talk about it all the time. Like, yeah, we're the ones, when you're playing out there on that island. I mean, there's no hiding from it. You're there. That guy gets behind you somehow. Everybody in the stadium can see it. So, there's really no sugarcoating that.
With the quarterback issue, the injuries, there was probably expectations off that the defense had to step up. And
Yeah.
yet, one of the problems, I guess, is that if the offense doesn't have the ball enough, the defense sort of wears down. What did you think of the defense yesterday?
Well, I talked about it a little bit yesterday after the game. I thought that it was a little bit of a microcosm of the year, where there were some really good moments in the game. I thought there were terrific 3-and-outs and series where it was exactly what it should look like. And then there were a couple of leverage issues, misplayed balls that end up going big, a run that's bottled up that kind of works its way around the perimeter, a ball down the sideline. There's just a couple things that just, where big plays got away, and it mars what otherwise was really pretty darn good. A lot of tackles for loss, a lot of shedding blocks and toughness in the trenches and playing hard and those types of things. We're pretty good on third down. So, but at the end of the day, those things, you add those up, they're what determine the difference between really special or just solid, played hard, and not quite enough.
Anyone you know of have any medical procedures planned for the offseason, surgeries or anything like that?
Rod brought me up to date on that, and I don't have anything to share right now. I think there are a couple guys that are going to get some MRIs tomorrow and determine whether or not surgery is needed, and there might be a couple like cleanup things that are going on, but I don't know if there's anything major right now.
Would you expect Derek to be ready for mandatory minicamp? Do you have any sense of that yet?
I don't yet. I don't know yet. I know he was thinking, I'm going to play in the Super Bowl. You guys get there, I'm playing. And so that being the mindset, obviously, he's coming along nicely. So, I don't want to guess on anything, though. And then if he's not there, then you're asking me why. I think we'll see. I think he's got time to do it right, recover the right way. And we expect he'll be back at full strength soon.
Jack, how long does it take to flip the disappointment of how abruptly this season ended into excitement going into next year?
Well, got like less than 24 hours out right now, so it's still a little raw. But we'll definitely be able to look back and be proud of what we accomplished this year, and then let that sting that you feel from having it end the way it did be a reminder of how hard you need to push, how much work is in front of us, and let that fuel, the type of off-season we need to have.
Got 13, I think, unrestricted free agents, and guys like including Murray and Holmes and Malcolm Smith. And do you think some of those guys would be signed before the free agency period hit and you re-signed the contract?
Well, I think the first part in that process is to evaluate the roster real thoroughly. We'll begin that process now as a staff, meet with Reggie and his people, and Reggie and I will talk it through, and that's kind of how we do it. And we'll have decisions to make. I'm sure. Want to keep as much of the nucleus. We have a good young nucleus of players here. Want to keep as much of that nucleus intact as possible, and so that'll be the plan, going forward.
Somebody like Holmes, who yesterday comes up really big as a receiver when you needed it, and then he's involved in a couple of those plays down the where he almost batted it back out of the end zone.
Right.
He downs one at the 5. I mean,
Right.
he's an unrestricted free agent.
Yeah.
I guess everything goes in the evaluation. That last game must
Oh
count
yeah,
for a lot.
oh yeah. No, it all counts. It all counts. And he's been a really good player for us. So, those are the kinds of decisions. You can't keep everybody, you can't pay everybody, especially once you start paying your quarterback to what he's gonna end up making. So I'm sure it'll be a pretty nice amount. But, you know, so we've been fortunate the last few years, we've been able to, you know, do more other places because we didn't have a lot put in the quarterback number. So that, as that number goes up, it'll limit some of the things you have to do.
Reggie said that this thing is built to last in terms of that you guys.
I like hearing that.
Yeah, and is that something that you see with the way that kind of contracts are structured here and the young nucleus that you have, that you can?
Well, that's part of our responsibility to build it the right way and build it so that it can last. And, you know, nobody wants to take one swing and hope that you have a magical year one time. I think you want to, you know, build your roster strong and build your team strong and build the culture strong so that, you know, so that what you're able to put in and put together is a roster that can go out and compete at a championship level, you know, year after year. And that's what the goal is. So, you know, that's where we are in terms of a football team, is raising the expectations, creating a culture of can-do, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of, you know, adhering to the process that we talk about all the time of how we recover, prepare, compete, and you know, continue to build the roster strong and then go out and compete the way, you know, the way we've learned to.
Is good?
This thing with before the Denver game, when did this illness thing come on that week?
I just never spoke to it because I didn't want it to sound like an alibi,
Yeah.
you know, and I still don't want it to sound like an alibi. That's why it never came up. But yeah, I mean, we had some flu mixed in with a lot of colds and a lot of people. So didn't sound very good on the plane ride coming back, that's for sure.
Did it get you?
Just a sniffles and cold type thing. I didn't ever have the flu, but let's keep that from happening.